Hello and happy almost springtime. Easter is right around the corner, so today I'm going to show you how to make a mini egg piped cake. The first thing I'm going to need you to do is go into the comments and tell me what is your favorite Easter candy. This is a very divisive subject, so I need to hear, are you team mini eggs, team peeps, team chocolate bunnies, or cream egg? Second, subscribe to my channel and check out everything you'll need to make this cake in the description box below. It's pretty straightforward. It's just a piped buttercream cake. And without further delay, let's get to the video. I'm just gonna go over everything you're going to need for this cake really quickly, but you can find links for all of these things in the description box below. So let's start over here. I've got some reusable piping bags and couplers. I've got a bunch of piping tips. Again, I will link all of these for you. And then I've got my cake, which has already been masked. This is a 6-inch diameter cake and about 5 inches tall. I have some mini eggs, which we're going to use to top the cake, my little scribe tool, and then I've got all of my buttercreams. So I've prepared these all using Color Mill colors. Again, I will link all of these in the description box below. And you're going to need a light blue, a light green, light pink, and a medium yellow. So this is just a little bit darker than the masked cake that we have already prepared. So once you have gathered all of these tools and equipment and buttercreams and cake and everything, then we can get right to piping. We're going to start with our ruffle swags. So first we need to mark out our cake, and I'm just doing that by roughly marking out the top. This is very similar to the vintage cake that I did for Valentine's Day, so check that one out if you want to see another kind of piped cake like this. And also, if you need help filling your piping bag, I think I have some tutorials in there for that as well. So I'm just marking this into quarters first. And then I think I'm gonna do thirds. So each of these quarters I'm gonna divide into 3. And again, it's just rough. This is kind of like the nice thing about doing more vintage style cakes. They don't have to be perfect, the way that I would mark it out with a Lambeth cake. Okay, so we've got our segments marked out. We've got our Ateco 102 tip here, and we're going to just do a little ruffle, kind of just going up and down like that. Nothing too fancy. Smaller part of the tip is on the bottom. So just touch down and then just make little wiggly motions. And just try and make it as symmetrical and kind of rounded looking as possible. Next up, we're making our little flowers. So I'm just gonna start wherever, kind of in like this middle high area, and just make little teardrop shapes going inwards, and I'll do maybe like 3 to 5 of them going into the same point to make a little flower. So 1, 2, so there's one little flower, and I'm just gonna scatter them all about, and I'm also going to do different numbers of petals for all the different flowers, so it gives it a little bit of variety. So just check all the way around, make sure it looks fairly even. And we can always add a little bit more after. Next up, I'm gonna take my PME number 2, and I'm gonna make the centers to all of these flowers. So even if it's just a couple petals, I'll add a little center just by making a dot, and then coming off in a little circular motion. So this helps make it as flat as possible so it doesn't have a little peak. Okay, all done there. And then last step is just going to be adding the stems to all of these. So I'm going to do that with a PME2 as well and our green buttercream. And I'm not going to try and make these perfect or anything. I'm just going to kind of do little hand-drawn type stems coming down. We'll see how it turns out. I do find it easier coming from the bottom to the top rather than the other way around. And then we can also add in some little leaves. Just making like a very simple leaf shape like that. Try not to gouge your buttercream like I just did. And you can always fix little mistakes like this. Just if there's a bubble, just kind of try and attach the buttercream first, and then you can fill in that little gap with buttercream. So I'm just doing all of the leaves facing in slightly different directions to make it feel kind of natural and a little whimsical. So again, just take a look around once you're finished and make sure that you're pretty happy with the placement of everything and that it looks like fairly even all the way. Then we can move on to the next color. Let's do a few little finishing touches before we start adding on the heavier borders. I'm just gonna put a little dot down here. Actually, maybe I'll do a little heart because it'll be super cute. So it's gonna be like very subtle, but I love these little kind of tiny details that just add a little bit something special to the cake. So this again is the same technique as we used for the flowers, just two little lobes coming in towards one another. After this, we're gonna switch to PME4, and that will just be to finish up these ruffle swags. So let's switch, and we're gonna do another just plain teardrop shape going upwards on each one of these little intersections. Okay, now we are switching to our blue ruffle. So this is going to be all around the base and then all around the top as well. And I'll just show you what this looks like. Hopefully you can see. For this ruffle tip, you don't really have to do much except hold it very steady. So I'm just going to hold it with the tip just touching the cake and allow the buttercream to come out, and it will just ruffle for you. So just keep even pressure. And just evenly spin your turntable around, and should be pretty easy. And just lift off at the end. So this time we want to align the very end of our ruffles to the very edge of our cake. And just lift off. So we've got our Ateco 867 and our pink buttercream, so we're just gonna pipe a shell all the way around the base. So I'm just gonna do a classic shell. Try not to disturb your ruffles. And if you do get buttercream on your tip, just wipe it off. Otherwise, you're gonna start getting kind of muddled shapes and it won't be like a nice star shape anymore. And the last one's always gonna look ugly. You just have to live with that. Next, we will go up top. So I'll keep the seams all at the same area so we have a back to our cake. And we'll just try and align that kind of right on top of this ridge that we have. So I'm taking my PME number 4 and I'm just gonna do a plain border all the way around, just a plain shell border on top of this pink. So I'm just trying to keep it as straight as possible. I'm gonna use the PME 8C, but any kind of closed star tip would be great. And I'm gonna do another yellow border just right inside where we have the pink border here. So I'm gonna do this the same direction as the pink one is in, so it might be a little tricky to see. All right, so I have my number 2 tip, and I'm going to do just a little tiny scallop border underneath where we have our blue border and our little hearts, just because I felt like it needed something else. So this is gonna be kind of like hand-drawn scallop border. It's not gonna be perfect. I'm just gonna come under here and just do tiny little half circles, kind of. All right, last step is just to add our mini eggs. So I'm just gonna scatter them on the top border and just try and use the colors evenly. So I can use one to cover up our ugly spot where our buttercream was kind of coming together there, and then just like scatter them over the rest. I'll just scatter some around the bottom too to make it extra Eastery. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do tell me if you have any questions in the comments below. Tag me on Instagram if you try this out at Finespun Cakes with 2 S's. Subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time.